Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, the Austrian neurologist renowned as the founding father of psychoanalysis, fundamentally reshaped the understanding of the human mind. His work introduced a whole climate of opinion that continues to influence psychology, culture, and the way we perceive our inner lives. This overview delves into his personal life, intellectual development, and the enduring, though often contested, legacy of his theories. Personal information. Full name: Sigismund Shlomo Freud. He later shortened his first name to Sigmund. A birth date: May 6, 1856. A birthplace: Freiburg, Moravia, Austrian Empire, now Priber, Czech Republic. Death date: September 23, 1939, in London, England. A nationality: Austrian. He became a British subject in 1946 after his death. Family. Born to Ashkenazi Jewish parents, Freud was the eldest of 8 children. His father, Jacob Freud, a wool merchant, was 40 at the time of Sigmund's birth, and his mother, Amalia Nathanson, was 20 years younger. The family structure was complex. Jacob had 2 adult sons from a previous marriage, making the young Sigmund an uncle to a nephew who was a year his senior and an early playmate. In 1860, due to financial difficulties, the family moved from Freiburg to Vienna, which would be Freud's home for nearly 80 years. In 1886, after a long engagement, Freud married Martha Bernays. They had 6 children: Mathilde, Jean Martin, Oliver, Ernst, Sophie, and Anna. The youngest, Anna Freud, became a distinguished psychoanalyst in her own right, pioneering the field of child psychoanalysis. Education and professional growth. Freud was an exceptional student from an early age, finishing first in his class for 7 years. Though initially interested in law, he was inspired by the scientific work of Charles Darwin and an essay on nature by Goethe, which led him to pursue medicine at the University of Vienna in 1873. He graduated with a medical degree in 1881. His early career was in neurology. He conducted research in cerebral anatomy at the Vienna General Hospital and published an influential paper on the palliative effects of cocaine in 1884. A pivotal moment came in 1885 when a fellowship allowed him to study in Paris under Jean-Martin Charcot, a neurologist using hypnosis to treat patients with hysteria. This experience steered Freud away from neurology research and toward medical psychopathology. Upon returning to Vienna, Freud began a private practice and collaborated with his friend and mentor, the physician Joseph Breuer. Breuer had found that encouraging a hysterical patient, famously known as Anna O., to talk about her symptoms could lead to their abatement. This talking cure became the bedrock of psychoanalysis. Although Breuer eventually distanced himself from Freud, feeling he overemphasized sexual origins in neuroses, Freud continued to develop his methods. Theories and contributions. Freud's work was dominated by his effort to understand the hidden structures of personality. He introduced a new vision of human existence, arguing that behavior is largely determined by unconscious motivations stemming from childhood experiences. Key theories. 1. Psychoanalysis, a clinical method for treating mental illness through dialogue. It utilizes techniques like free association, dream analysis, and the analysis of Freudian slips to access the unconscious. The concept of transference, the projection of feelings about one person onto another, the analyst, is central to the process. 2. The unconscious and the structure of the mind. Freud proposed that the mind is like an iceberg with only a small portion being conscious. He later developed a structural model of the psyche comprising 3 parts. O. The ID, present from birth, It is the source of all psychic energy, libido, and operates on the pleasure principle, seeking immediate gratification of basic instincts and urges. The ego. Developing from the ID, the ego is the decision-making component that operates on the reality principle. It mediates between the ID's desires, the superego's morals, and the external world. The superego. The last part to develop, it incorporates societal morals and values, acting as a conscience. 3. Psychosexual development. Freud theorized that personality develops through a series of 5 stages in childhood, with the libido's energy focused on different erogenous zones at each stage. Unresolved conflicts at any stage could lead to fixation and neurosis in adulthood. The stages are oral, anal, phallic, featuring the Oedipus complex, latency, and genital. 4. Defense mechanisms. The ego employs unconscious strategies to protect itself from anxiety arising from unacceptable thoughts or feelings. These were further elaborated by his daughter, Anna Freud. Common mechanisms include repression, denial, projection, rationalization, and sublimation. 5. Life and death instincts. In his later work, Freud postulated 2 competing drives: eros, life instincts, related to survival and pleasure, and thanatos, death instincts, an unconscious wish for death that can manifest as self-destructive behavior or aggression. Major publications. Freud was a prolific writer whose works disseminated his theories globally. His major publications include The Interpretation of Dreams, 1900. The Psychopathology of Everyday Life, 1901. 3 Essays on the Theory of Sexuality, 1905. A Beyond the Pleasure Principle, 1920. The Ego and the ID, 1923. A Civilization and Its Discontents, 1930. Quotes and their meaning. The ego is not master in its own house. Meaning. This quote encapsulates a core Freudian discovery. Our conscious self, the ego, is not fully in control. It is constantly influenced by the unconscious drives of the ID, the moralizing pressure of the superego, and external reality, meaning we are not fully aware of the forces that determine our behavior. The Interpretation of Dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind. Meaning. From his book The Interpretation of Dreams, this highlights Freud's belief that dreams are not random but are wish fulfillments. By analyzing their content, he believed a psychoanalyst could uncover the hidden desires and conflicts of the unconscious. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Meaning. While often attributed to Freud, there is no evidence he actually said this. However, it is used to illustrate the idea that not every object or action is a deep, hidden symbol. Some things can be taken at face value without psychoanalytic interpretation. Inspirations and other passions. Freud's thinking was shaped by a wide range of influences. As scientific mentors, his professor Ernst von Bruck instilled in him a materialist scientific approach, while his collaborations with Jean-Martin Charcot and Joseph Breuer were foundational to his clinical work. Intellectual figures. He was influenced by Charles Darwin's theory of evolution and the writings of philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Literature and archaeology. Freud had a profound passion for literature and philosophy. He was also an avid collector of antiquities, amassing over 2,000 artifacts from ancient Greece, Rome, and Egypt. He saw psychoanalysis as a form of archaeology of the mind, likening the work of an analyst to an archaeologist excavating buried ruins to uncover a hidden past. His collection of old grubby gods served as a source of inspiration and companionship in his solitary work. Social life and professional circle. Freud's intellectual life was centered in Vienna, where he established the psychoanalytic movement. In 1902, he began hosting weekly discussions in his home, which became known as the Wednesday Psychological Society. This group formally became the Vienna Psychoanalytic Society in 1908, the first of its kind in the world. This circle included influential figures like Carl Jung and Alfred Adler. However, both eventually broke with Freud due to theoretical disagreements. Adler resigned in 1911, unable to accept Freud's emphasis on sexuality, and Jung's collaboration with Freud ended over differing views on the nature of the unconscious. Countries visited and vital roles. While Freud lived most of his life in Vienna, his travels were significant. France. His time in Paris with Charcot in 1885 to 86 was a turning point in his career. United States. In 1909, Freud, accompanied by Jung and Sandor Ferenczi, made his only trip to the U.S. to give a series of lectures at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts. The visit, which included an honorary doctorate, marked a major moment of public recognition for psychoanalysis in North America. Despite the warm academic reception, Freud developed a lasting dislike for America, which he blamed for digestive problems and found culturally lacking. England. In 1938, following the Nazi annexation of Austria, the 82-year-old Freud, who was Jewish, was forced to flee Vienna. He escaped with his family and settled in London, where he spent the final year of his life, dying in exile in September 1939. Influence and legacy. Sigmund Freud's impact on the 20th century is undeniable. His theories revolutionized the treatment of mental health conditions and provided a new vocabulary for understanding human nature. Influence on psychology. Psychoanalysis laid the foundation for modern talk therapy and influenced countless subsequent psychological theories. Many theorists known as Neo-Freudians built upon or reacted against his ideas. His daughter, Anna Freud, extended his work into child psychology and the study of the ego. A cultural impact. Freudian concepts such as the Oedipus complex, repression, denial, and the Freudian slip have become ingrained in Western popular culture and everyday language. A criticism. Freud's work has always been controversial and subject to heavy criticism. Critics argue that his theories are difficult to test scientifically, overly focused on male development, and that his evidence was based on a small, unrepresentative sample of patients. Despite these criticisms, Sigmund Freud remains one of the most influential and controversial thinkers of modern times. While many of his specific theories have been modified or discarded by contemporary psychology, his fundamental insight, that hidden unconscious forces play a critical role in shaping our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, remains a cornerstone of the field. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.